Zangpo and I'm Pamela. Welcome to Bhutan This Week. In this week's top stories, states' key economic agencies have failed to provide timely response to the rupee crisis, said the National Council's Economic Affairs Committee that carried out a study to review the policies and the issues of rupee crisis. Opposition leader Srin Topge questioned the government on the country's increasing debt. Bhutan currently has a total of over 75 billion niltrim, and the legal Council of the Home Minister Jamyang Sherab Wangdi and ACC submitted their closing statements on the Gelpushing land case in Mongol court earlier this week. The verdict would be out soon after the closing of the ongoing parliament session, said the court. Japan's national treasure and Miharu's pride, Taki Sakura, has come to Bhutan. The saplings of Taki Sakura, a cherry tree over 1,000 years old, were transplanted at the Thimphu Memorial Garden on Friday, further cementing a strong relationship between the two countries.
The waterfall or weeping cherry, affectionately called Taki Sakura, with dark pink double flowers, is one of the three best cherry trees across Japan. Viewed and admired, this great tree blossoms in the month of April in Miharu town, a small inland community in Fukushima prefecture. The saplings come as a goodwill gesture from the people of Miharu to express appreciation to the royal visit by their majesties, an extremely gracious show of support to millions of people who had been affected by the 11th March 2011 earthquake and tsunami. Taki Sakura, which also symbolizes courage, was brought to Bhutan by a delegation led by the mayor of Miharu town. Speaking to BB's, Mayor Yoshinori Suzuki said they were touched by Their Majesty's noble gesture in Japan and that these saplings are also expected to further add to the good relations between the two nations.
今回の桜交流がこれで終わりじゃなくてね、これが始まりだと思っておりまして、これから継続してですね、ブータンが桜の花でいっぱいになるまでですね、私たちは桜交流を深めたい。そして、そのことによってですね、桜だけじゃなくていろんな各種の交流につながって、ブータン、日本が共に発展することを祈ってこの事業に参加をいたしました。
The transplanting of Taki Sakura by the mayor and the agriculture and forest minister took place this afternoon at the memorial garden in Langjabaka in Thimphu. 3 saplings were transplanted. The Taki Sakura stands 12 meters high and is the pride of Miharu. For Japanese, donating or transplanting cherry trees overseas is considered a show of gratitude and a gesture to explore and establish lasting friendship. Saramfunso for BBS News.
The National Council's Economic Affairs Committee is blaming the country's key economic agencies of failing to provide timely response to the rupee crisis. The committee pointed this out on Monday as it presented the findings of the study it carried out to review the policies and issues of the rupee crisis. The committee also presented and passed a host of recommendations to fix the rupee shortage, establishing strong coordination mechanism, fixing accountability and putting in place stronger fiscal measures are among the recommendations. The chairperson of the Economic Affairs Committee, Rinzin, presented the report on the shortage of the Indian rupee in the House. The committee has carried out a study to review the policies and issues of rupee crisis in the country. The committee members also presented the causes that had led to the rupee crunch. They pointed out that a review on the roles of the institutions and policies shows that the state's key economic agencies have failed to provide timely response to the issue. MP Rinzin said it is important to address the rupee shortage for the long-term economic security and stability. He said that it is crucial to identify not only the economic causes but also policies lapses.
Shungibe godin tabdigibe the Beljurgi godin election be tabnigi denula the Dune Yan Tapne, the Ding Dichi, the Dematakubera, the Gotsugub do Seshunila, the Inkena Shuach and the Zonga Kajur Rizga High Magolu Tenomela. The Inkena Bachan established robust and economic coordination mechanism.
The other recommendation is the need to fix accountability on the RMA board members to take responsibility in addressing the problem. The concerned government officials were also recommended to be vigilant on the issue. The committee members also said that there is a need for the Finance Ministry to prepare a comprehensive fiscal policy.
각자기 내갑들이 좀 맞추겠으니라. 다 대변되기 디 왕진나 차라나미 고벤술래야 디 겐티지 데 왕진기 카톨레 계급도 세미기 진이라.
땡길 생각이 카톨레베로 denminchen tatoki tabrida tablamchi chichu begobe sujunila
chim zotun bene ki kintu dia the gara lunango se sale mela the chingole shudun sombe zorim digdigi be the zonghak da chom disuna laba the khangkim malami gi the kangel yemi disu the chom sap chagop ngedik be kacha disu shungin na cha the indebera to chomdi the chimchamni gochu se the kacha di naira ba the kindudi matop begale the chimdisu the sotin be misubes junila.
The House then extensively deliberated on the recommendations of the committee. Most of the members supported the recommendations. The House then decided that after incorporating some of the recommendations from the members, the committee will submit them to the concerned institutions for implementation. Compiled for Somhamo, Pematsuki for BBS News. Bhutan currently has a total debt of over 75 billion niltrim, of which over 45 billion was spent on the hydropower projects. The figure also includes the short-term borrowing debt of over 17 billion niltrim. The National Assembly session on Tuesday saw a lengthy deliberation on the issue. The opposition leader questioned the finance minister on the increasing amount of debts of the country. He also inquired how much of the debt is used for hydropower projects. He asked when would the government be able to pay off the short-term rupee borrowings.
당아치기 short-term borrowing 균 통구치기 던달래 대균들 레미디 용돔 테르붐 쭉디다 취라 아님치고 회치 세미기 대내술치 잡다 베데 세슈니 다니기 당아치기 na shiten kodub gitonal mesa shuni disu lamseni samchabni lobda chabni menka chabni da tede lokmigi legul sugi tondale member ngachirigi gekhapnalu rupigi tabmadeu tendibe rupi malamigi tabmadeu tendilbe te nangden chachesu nangden bemasuble tendibe te kindul lemime seshuni.
According to the finance minister, the debt is mainly due to the imbalance of trade in the country and also due to the fast-growing economy. Limpo said paying off the debts is not much of a concern as these borrowings are all invested for future benefits, including hydropower projects.
Dauchunibegi che sumchu sochi lu ngitam saya dinti ngaptong tukja dechi imbe sishuni. Di memang bolen yongdomle jacha gupchu godu tanga chergi bolen yongdomle jacha gupchu godu dechi chigi boleni de chechi kebigi nangke yongdomle bewachin jacha dinchu denga lapchigi chimbe GDP nale bewachin estimated.
Limpuish Chimba added the short-term borrowing is necessary to help enhance the growth of the private sectors in the country.
Ta thare ngachara ani ta ngachara geljung nyule onjeda nyukhansugi de jagai turu tare 뒤인 통크기 두루 기미디기 가데베 펜토버세 보진 딤 마키 워칭 가시나 게르데 콘페디 마조 온세 슌닐라 나자라 중기 레길 달라도 초칼로 좀 속이 디투루 토벨라 말레 토에 톱지 나지 디 타게 랑고브라 민우 디보달로 나지리 게르데기 송자미 속이 데 코리기 레길데 박디베 마 피조데 두루 미섭라 콘유강순을 기도 데 뉴강수의 콘로 자가이 두루도 갈레테 모세 워진
However, the Gen Khatilaya member of the parliament, Damshudoji, said he is skeptical on how the debts could be paid off from investing in hydropower projects.
omba toshichi tegase dibe te debralabi hemala di shumal talagi te lomedi gochuchi di tushinale di ngachar jumeb diswe ta tolob di namsme board cheto to ber thobni gi rewoki chi suinila tebedul tari talagi lome tubdibe bedi besachur ngachi talagi lome gi nale omigi 퇴영궁디기 바궁디기 ngachargi totona shikale kindu lelemigi kirata masuba te anebela hatando anebodelu te shuma lome temdalu tidatitugi polio ngachatago sunila.
To this, the Minister for Economic Affairs said there is nothing to be doubtful about reaping benefits from the hydropower projects and paying off the debts. He said the past hydropower projects have helped the country's economy grow by generating employment opportunities and subsequently improving the per capita income and the living standards of the people.
같이 축하디 구마수바친 달라디 같이 시추마베와진 다른 아바 같이 나 논추널로 같이 개합디 때 개합 개기 단수로 때 닥쇼 벤주르기 톨레베루 랑구랑 당비 톨레베루 닥쇼기 단수 유미두 안추널로 같이 맞아 죽디베 라 베더디 때 다레 두데 데베 템미즈 주니 때 축하디 같이 구마수 꾸리추 구마수 달라 구마수바지 같이 내상 가지게 샤니메 꾸리추 구마수바지 샤추기 종가 게데지노 다도바 lok미 명올라 나도베요 달라 이 가대 배도 소진 딸라기 거리기 벌 축하기디 벌가에 답사이라 디보돌루 벌답이 고루 같이 배서 축하기 거리기 벌주 답 딜렐 캡서 탭디기베 마치 개합널 고비기 차지기 망율 디좀베 균두 옌답살 페이제 슈니 더 마음벌로 마치기 뿌나장추 만데추 디주 오모걸렌 nga기 더진 마음벌로 이도 니슈기 난큐루 마치 개합널로 뒤디 가dem지고 샤오서 어진 루비 말라미 강일 명올라 루비 남서 옆도 디 가데베 주였나 디 가데 숲다고 아니비 강일 중라.
Limpo also said, along with hydropower projects, investments are also made in tourism industry. With additional information from Shervazangmo, Pemotsuki for BBS News. The Legal Counsel of Home Minister Jamyang Sherabongdi and the Anti-Corruption Commission of Bhutan submitted their closing statements on the Gyalpushing land case in Mongar District Court earlier this week. In the closing argument, Jamyang Sherabongdi said the defendant has not violated any kajas and laws, neither favoured nor deprived anyone while allotting land in Gyalpushing. Jamyang Sherabongdi also said ACC has not been able to prove if it was the criminal act or intention of the defendant as alleged by the Commission. He said the evidences submitted by the ACC do not have the required substance as against the allegations. As a proof, the Legal Counsel had submitted to the court the resolution of DYT meeting of October 3, 2003, during which the then Zongda had supposedly said they had exhausted all the procedures for the allotment. ACC refuted and said if proper procedures were followed, the need to allot the land to Kharchu Drasang, Dramisi Drasang and Kunzang Dema would not have arisen. And even if it did, the allotment should have been done according to the criteria followed previously. ACC questioned again if the allotment was done appropriately. The Commission also questioned if the defendant followed the said criteria. ACC had found out that the land for 2 drasangs had been allotted based on the social welfare. Kunzang Dema was given land for the service her husband provided to the Dzongkhag administration. Meanwhile, the Mongar Drangpen said he would be focusing on the spiritual intent of the royal Kaja. The verdict will be passed soon after the closing of the ongoing parliament session. Compiled for Kingatashi, this is Pemal Harden for BBS News. As directed by the Supreme Court, the High Court issued a letter earlier this month to the Ministry of Works and Human Settlement. In the letter, the High Court has asked the ministry if it is taking action against the tender committee members of the Supreme Court construction. In response to the letter, the ministry said some of the tender committee members, like the former minister Kinzang Doji and former Drangpin Jimmy Zangpo, resigned from service some few years ago, and Rinchen Doji, the director of Department of Urban Development and Engineering Services, will superannuate in April this year. The ministry also responded that some members have been transferred to different agencies in different places, but the ministry has expressed its awkwardness to take action against two members, Ugen Tsewang and Funsuk Elson, as they are believed to be hardworking and have served the government with dedication. The ministry feels that taking action against them could demoralize them. The ministry has, however, assured the High Court that it will take action against the members on time. 4 eastern Himalayan countries have agreed to build 6 regional projects that will help over hundreds of millions of people adapt to the impacts of climate change. This was one of the outcomes of the Climate Summit for a Living Himalayas, the first meeting of the coordination group, which concluded last Sunday.
The group, which comprises of Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal, agreed on these projects, keeping in mind the framework of cooperation endorsed during the Climate Summit in 2011. The projects, which are likely to get finalized in 2 months' time, are expected to get implemented after July this year. Of the 6 projects, 3 were proposed by Bhutan in areas of biodiversity, water, food and energy, which are also the 4 key themes under the framework. Some of these detailed projects included enhancing indigenous knowledge system and efficient use of natural resources, securing biodiversity and its sustainable use, and promoting eco-efficient water infrastructure. The group has also identified the sources for funding these projects, like from India Endowment Fund for Climate Change, Bangladesh Climate Trust Fund, and through regional technical assistance under Asian Development Bank. Also, with the concluding of the first coordination meeting yesterday, Bhutan completes its term and India now leads as a coordinating country for the next 1 year, who will provide secretarial services to the summit process, including the projects proposed. Compiled for Sherb Zangmo, Sonofunso for BBS News.
Gyeongju Domestic Airport saw the first flight land in Wednesday after its inaugural in October last year. The passengers were mostly officials of the Ministry of Labour and Human Resources who had come for today's inaugural of the 4th Regional Job Fair in Gyeongju.
Carrying 19 officials of the Ministry of Labour and Human Resources, the Minister of Information and Communications and a few other senior government officials, the flight landed at around 7:30 a.m. The officials have made use of the domestic flight facility made available by the government. According to a circular issued by the Ministry of Finance in January this year, government officials in position level P5 and above traveling on official duty will be eligible to avail themselves of the domestic air services.
The most important or the advantage that I think that the EJR flight, the domestic airline provides is that if we had to, for instance, today we just made it here in like 20 minutes, which saves a lot of time now. And for a civil servant who has to go to Gangneung, then by road it would take around 2 days. So that consumes a lot of time and a lot of money for the government as well.
The initiative is aimed at cutting costs and utilizing human resources efficiently. Having availed themselves of the facility, the officials cannot claim the travel and daily allowances of 500 niltrum per day and mileage of 14 niltrum per kilometer. Officials said they are satisfied as they can wrap up their work and be back in the office by afternoon.
I would say that there is time efficiency is very much there when you come through flight, by a flight. And number 2, when it comes to our cost, yes, definitely there's a cost saving. Yes, I would recommend to all the ministries that if they have such important events, then I think they should take up. If the duration is very short and if they don't have time, then I would recommend them to travel by Duke Air Station.
The cost of a round trip to Gyelephu and back to Paro is about 7,600 Niltrum per passenger. The flight time from Paro to Gyelephu is about 25 minutes. Ishori Gurung, BBS News, Gyelephu.
Residents of Baju Town, Tenchuling and Rabdemangs in Wangdipodrang now have access to clean, filtered drinking water. This has been made possible after the installation of water filter pressure tanks brought from Denmark. It is the first of its kind in the country.
Filtering water in pressure tanks like this one is new in Bhutan. Water from this source is stored in huge tanks. The water from these tanks then flows into the pressure tanks. Pressure tanks store pressurized water that can be distributed to different areas.
We are very happy now. Honestly speaking, until now we use the water only for cooking. For drinking, I always made sure to fish from other cleaner sources. Now with the pressure tank, the water looks and feels cleaner. Our health and hygiene will improve significantly.
Until now, people who were able to buy water filters bought one, and those who are health conscious made an effort to boil the water before drinking. Some consumed directly, but now we don't have to worry about consuming unsafe water.
Murky water at homes during summer will be a thing of past now. A private company, Sangsil Eco Trade, was involved in the construction of pressure tanks.
So far, they have been consuming not so clean water, especially during monsoon. In Bhutan, we follow WHO standards for drinking water, but the pressure tank will provide water quality of EU standard.
The residents are expected to enjoy clean, filtered water for the next 50 years. It cost the government about 16 million Niltrum. Kambal for Kinzang Tille, Tanden Finso, BBS News.
With this, we come to the end of this week's edition of Bhutan This Week. Join us again next Saturday as we bring you another edition of show featuring some of our best reports of the week. Thanks for watching, and this is Pemal Hadin saying bye.